so many exercise rocks on my feet, it's hard for me to find stable ground here. So just, if you guys would buy some of these, then we wouldn't have this problem right now. Eh? As you know, they're pretty cheap on the website, 79,000 or so a piece. You can do lots of different movements, you know, right? So yeah, send in the money and then I'll be able to find stable ground to stand upon to do these videos.
Train the muscles, not the joints.
So welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding Mountain. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a misunderstood concept, which is stabilized movements versus unstable movements. That sounds pretty eloquent. Well, there you guys are, hiding in my car again. Tell you, you guys are sneaky. Always somewhere new, always somewhere new. So let's talk about stability for a minute. Just because, you know, people always talk about using the stabilizers is going to be the best way in order for you to get the most amount of muscle mass. And I would say yes, if that means increasing the muscle mass around certain stabilizers. But like I said, if stability is your weak link, then the body will be so busy stabilizing that you won't necessarily get the results you're looking for, because you're also after the stimulation of the prime moving muscles. And let's face it, I mean, say you're pulling a sled in the forest in the middle of winter and it's filled with a carcass of some sort. You know, you do need some stabilization in order to keep your balance. But in the end, the weight itself isn't adding to the instability. One could actually argue, if you're pulling a sled, that the sled is actually adding to the stability of the movement, therefore allowing you to concentrate more on the force that you're putting through the prime movers in order to move the sled. So what I'm trying to say is that whatever is the weak link in your exercise will become the thing that is forced to adapt. And you could see this also with people doing squats on top of a Swiss ball or a very unstable sort of situation. Like say they're balancing on a tightrope and they're trying to do squats. We know that they will not be able to lift the same amount of weight. They'll have to lift much lighter because stabilizing becomes more the weak link. And as much as that can be good for refining your groove and finding balance or rehabilitating an area, if you do it exclusively, it can hold you back from recruiting some of the main muscle groups. And that's really what my point is. So the funny thing is that I had to learn this the hard way because I was one of those guys that said, you know, free weights are nothing. You know, if you're not doing free weights, what's the point? You know, free weights are where it's all at. That's real strength. And to a point, I really do agree with using free weights as a large amount of your training exercises. You know, barbell, bench press, dumbbell bench press, you know, deadlifts and squats and bent over rows. Like, these are all great. And I use them a lot and they're one of the main focuses of my training. But I'm going to bring to light something for you guys that you might not know. And that is free weight movements are great for building your main muscle groups if, and this is a big if everything is stable around those joints in that area. And how do I know this? Well, when I dislocated the shoulder and the shoulder can move in and out, I noticed that there was somewhat less tension on my prime movers and more tension put on the stabilizers. And the stabilizers in the shoulder became more the weak link than sometimes the prime movers like the pecs and so forth. So this made sense to me because I remember meeting a pro bodybuilder a long time ago and him talking about how he liked machines more because he could concentrate the tension on the prime movers and he didn't have to focus so much on stabilizing. So as much as you can take any concept too far, there was some truth to what he was saying, because in some instances, a machine or a stabilized movement can give you more stimulation in the prime movers than, say, a free weight, where you have to stabilize and balance quite so much. And that's really what my point is. You know, but you can also apply this. Let's go for a drive here for a second. But you know, you can also apply this when it comes down to stability in anything. I mean, if you are, let's just say, well, let's just look at this camera for instance. If this camera is somewhat stable, I will be able to film this video and talk to you properly, right? And we can see that it's shaking a little bit. And the more shake it has, you know, the more of a hindrance the shake will be, and I won't be able to get the video filmed. We could talk about mental instability. Some of you guys may think that, you know, I'm mentally unstable from running a channel like this, but the fact is that when you have mental stability, one could argue you have an easier time performing a task or accomplishing a goal. And of course, it's also the same when it comes down to any type of physical exercise. You know, whoops. So the reason why I'm saying this is because sometimes a machine will give you superior results than one of the big three lifts or something that you're looking at as a prime mover that is your free weight movement. Say you just love dumbbell bench presses. Well, in some cases, especially if you've got unstable shoulders or some sort of issue going on, maybe a hammer strength press or some type of pressing movement on a machine or Smith machine or so forth will give you better results. I don't know. It's something to experiment with. And I notice this a lot too with machines like say leg presses or, you know, there's certain types of hack squats. Like hack squats themselves are not good for me, but there is a cambered squat where you basically hook in and then it bends you over at the same time so you put proper tension on the hamstrings. You know, some of those types of machines might be giving you superior leg gains than the squat itself. Because remember, the squat has a lot of moving parts, right? There's a lot of lower back involved. There's a lot of stabilizing involved and counterbalancing, and that takes energy. And if your body's using energy for that, it might not be putting as much energy on the quadriceps and the hamstrings themselves. So that's something for you to look at. Again, I'm open to either side of the argument on this, but I find that in some cases, you're gonna have to break your own rules in order to get the best possible results. And I noticed this back in the day with one-legged squats. I found walking lunges and one-legged squats with a barbell were great. They were great for certain parts of the leg. But then when I used Smith machine one-legged squats, I got superior development in different parts of the leg. So it just depends really how the forces are playing out. And sometimes if you go between stabilized and not stabilized movements, you'll get the best of both worlds instead of just sticking to one or the other because you become some sort of Puritan or fanatic around, you know, one type of movement or another, right? Any type of physical exercise, you know, whoops. You all right? You good? Yeah? I think you're starting to see my point here, huh? It's the same when it comes down to exercise. If you're flip-flopping all over the place, you're not going to be able to accomplish your goal. If you're standing on very unstable ground and you attempt to jump, obviously you're not going to be able to get as much force because the ground will give away and therefore your vertical and performance will go down. But also the amount of force that you can generate in the muscle will not be as high because you will lose that resistance when the ground breaks free of you. So I think you get my point. I didn't really mean for the camera to illustrate it so eloquently, but there we go. Sometimes I really hate being right all the time. It's a real burden to bear. Sometimes you will find that, you know, as much as you might like free weights more, in some cases the machine will actually be far superior for the actual development of the area you're looking to develop. So that's always something to keep in mind. But of course, you know, none of these things I'm talking about is going to be even relevant when it comes down to how important it is for you to have an exercise stick or, you know, some of my patented exercise rocks, right? These things, I tell you, like you can't, you know, you can't even put a price on these things, how valuable they are. You guys following me again? What kind of shit is this? So as far as stability goes, you know, it all starts with the feet, you know what I'm saying? It starts with the feet and moves its way up. So one could argue it. Wait a second, what are you looking at? What, like, I'm up here, man. Am I just a pair of feet to you? One thing on your mind all the time. I'm right here. I'm right here, all right? So basically, you know, I agree with stabilizing the body, you know, from the feet up, basically doing that balance stuff, doing those stabilizer type movements or doing those compound lifts to help with building overall stability and core strength and so forth. Because one could argue once you stabilize a certain area, that it will allow you eventually to generate more force from lifts that mimic that stability. You know, so say you're doing a squat and you're basically having to balance and counterbalance and so forth. Once you get better at that squat, then you'll be able to generate more force in the prime mover. But I will say, I do think that you're always going to be one step behind on the stability. So that's why using machines here and there will help you. And that's why you see a lot of lifters, bodybuilders especially, work on hack squats or Smith machine type of movements as part of their training because there is a synergy that goes on. They understand the value of doing the movements that require stability, but at the same time, the machine will allow them to give those stabilizers a bit of a break and then concentrate just on generating as much force as they can through the prime movers. You guys, you kept eye contact the whole time. I don't feel so dirty now. It's good. Anyway, I hope this helps out in your training, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the page supporters, and take care for now. Oh yeah, best $79,000 I ever spent.